think he's
I'm
muted.
here. Hi.
All right, sounds good. Brett, perfect timing. We just opened the meeting like 30 seconds ago, so we are officially open and getting into the agenda now. And just because you just entered, Brett, I did click recording, so this is being recorded. As it's open, I have to read a statement here about this virtual meeting, so we'll start with that. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section paragraph something 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Hubbardston Town Center Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via Zoom. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website a comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So just one note on that. So we'd like to confirm that that's actually possible, meaning the public is able to enter. So everyone on here almost was invited via the link that I emailed. So we have a member from TEC, John Rockwell, and then we have the rest of the Town Center Committee. We also have Katie Young, who is a member of the Select Board, who's going to join in to the conversation a little bit later. Hi, Katie. Who's probably muted, so you don't have to say anything. There you are. Hi, Katie. Hi. So, Katie, you were able to go through the town website link to be able to get on.
Yeah, I'm pretty much a pro at these things.
Sounds good. So anyway, that verifies it worked. So, you know, we've made every effort and succeeded, I guess, because we do have anyone who wanted to join in could go through the measures that I just described in the virtual meeting information. So that being said, we are now through that, and we are going to start off with the meeting. So item one, as we usually do, is identify the committee member that will record this meeting minutes. No one's going to do that tonight because we are recording it. So that will have to be done at a future time, but not tonight. So item two is review and approve previous meeting minutes. I actually have 3 of them drafted. There's a couple others that we'll have to just sort of corral and get together because we are, me being a prime delinquent on that. But something we'll just put together and hope to get those to you guys for review soon. It's nothing like a new meeting coming up to remind you about meeting minutes that you owe from a previous meeting. And John Rockwell, you will absolutely agree with that, I'm sure. Being an engineer. Okay, so we're gonna move right along here. So I don't see Travis on yet, our DPW director. He was gonna come on. He's not even up yet, but I would like to get to him eventually. But item number 3, we have the town center design and next steps update. So Jonathan Rockwell at TEC, who you all know, we're very happy to have him come along. I'm just going to give you the floor, John, if you could just sort of let us know. You know, obviously I know where some things are at, and I try to keep the committee completely updated on all the things that you let me know what's going on. But if you just give us a quick little sort of what you've been doing and where things are going to be going, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you inviting me to join tonight. Happy to report the design of the project is actually ahead of schedule. We had received comments on the 75% design back in August, and we're able to relatively quickly turn those around, respond to MassDOT comments, add additional detail to the plans and the specifications that is typical between the 75 and the 100% design submittals. And we actually made the 100% design submittal to MassDOT a little over a week ago, actually maybe just under a week ago on the 9th. So that's a pretty comprehensive submittal. It's intended to include all the level of detail that is necessary for construction, gives MassDOT one final crack at review before we turn around and produce what would hopefully be the final submittal, which is the final PS&E submittal. Typically,
could I just so for all of us that don't, what does PS&E mean?
Plans, specifications, and estimate. And all of those things are in the 100% submittal, but they just refer to the final submittal as the final PS&E. Given that, so the review timeline is, it's likely to vary between 60 and 90 days. The fiscal year, MassDOT's federal fiscal year ended in September, and we submitted just after that. So that's right on the cusp of whether they would consider it for a 60-day or a 90-day review. Given that we're ahead of schedule, it's possible that they'll allot the full 90 days to it. But regardless, we would expect to be able to make the final PS&E submittal sometime in the spring. The advertisement date for the project is now set in the latest Transportation Improvement Program at January 8th, 2022. So if all goes according to plan, with the advertisement period, bid opening, we would expect that construction could begin as early as more or less first thing in the spring of 2022, potentially. So we're fortunate that working with the MPO, the Montechusett MPO, we were able to get, the town obviously worked very hard as well to get the project programmed a little earlier than envisioned. Originally, it was scheduled in fiscal year 23. It has since been moved up to fiscal year 22, allowing it to hopefully start construction spring of 22.
And just to add real quick, so as a contractor, you're hungry in the winter. So it's a good time for bidding for the reason you just said, which means that it takes a few months to go through contracts and bid review and all that sort of stuff to be able to get authorized. But also it's just a good time to bid. Most contractors have not filled up by that time of year. And so just, just a comment on that.
Yeah. As far as the design itself, there were no real substantive changes between the 75% and 100 that, a couple of minor things. We made some recommendations to add some lighting at the crosswalks, and that lighting in conjunction with the relocation of the utility poles, we were able to specify another Cobra head light on some of the utility poles that were being relocated close to those crosswalks, provide some ambient light there. And then in at least one case, we are recommending to the utility company that they add a supplemental pole on the opposite side of the street. The ideal way to light a crosswalk is not to backlight people because then they look like a shadow basically, and it's hard to see them. So we made a couple of adjustments there with some of the overhead utilities. And one other thing, the town had helped us out with coordinating with town council, Katie Klein, to review where the shared use path ties into the rec field. There was some question because the rec field is potentially subject to Article 97 action, which is kind of a long way to go through the process to get a easement on a property that is Article 97 restricted. It has to go through legislative vote, actually, which is quite a hurdle. So we were able to confirm that it's not necessary for that parcel, and all we have is a temporary easement there. So that's fine. So that was good to resolve.
The last one we had took 2 years.
Yeah, it can take a while now. Project cost, just touch on that quickly. Our current costs, including utility relocations, DOT's construction engineering costs rolled into it, is about 5.4 million is what we would see it being advertised at right now. And the last final approved tip, which was the 20 through 2024 tip with the MPO, had the project programmed at 5.45. So we were within that number. The latest draft tip that came out, which is the 2021 through 2025 tip, has this programmed in 2022, but it's showing it at a 4.5 million. So we were a little concerned to find that information, and we're working now with the DOT PM to resolve it with the Montechusett Planning Commission. It's not, given the time frame we have, it's not considered a significant issue right now. There's plenty of time if there needs to be a tip amendment, but we're just trying to resolve why that adjustment in the programmed amount was made. So one other thing I want to touch on was just next steps in relation to town responsibilities. Really, the town's responsibilities from here on out are primarily related to right-of-way acquisition in order to ensure that the project can be advertised as programmed. So now that we've made the 100% submittal, the DOT's right-of-way community compliance officer will be reaching out to the town, probably to Ryan, I think is going to be my guess. Dan, I think, is the one that will be primarily responsible for the right-of-way acquisition coordination. Is that right?
Yeah, whether he wants to or not. So yes, he is. And she already has. So she's reached out to us already, and that process has begun. Ryan, just I should say, Travis did just join us, by the way, but Ryan couldn't make it tonight. He's fulfilling his National Guard commitments at drill. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but
Okay.
it's something much more important than I'm doing. So anyway, but yeah, so that process, and she actually, if you recall, so Alicia, you might as well. She was at the 25% hearing. That was 75 or whichever. I can't remember exactly. So she was, reached right out to us at that point and then made contact as well. So that process has begun. Yeah.
So DOT basically, guides the town through the process, provides the advice and the guidance in order to help the town acquire through whatever means they determine they're able to, the easements that are necessary for the project. So some of the steps that need to happen are appraisals, title exams, and then I presume your town will require town meeting action to either take the easements or to accept them as donations, for those abutters that are willing to donate the easements. So the right-of-way acquisition process will pretty much take up late spring through summer next year. But as I said, with the advertisement scheduled for January of 2022, there should be plenty of time for all that to occur and not put a ton of pressure on the town to accomplish that in too tight a time frame.
And we did briefly talk about it. So we typically have two opportunities to have action for the town to be able to vote on something like that. That would be the June town meeting, which may or may not happen, but always the 8 years I've been doing this is always a fall town meeting as well. So September, October, November, somewhere in that time frame, it gives us that sort of buffer in the event that everything doesn't come together for June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's pretty much a recap of where we've been and where we're heading. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Okay, so I just did a couple quick ones, I guess. So if for whatever reason, how do changes happen now? Meaning to the actual, for whatever reason, to the design, whether it's an easement issue that causes there to be something, or whether there's a change of heart by somebody, or an uproar, or a natural disaster, any sort of reason that we can come up with. How now that we've sort of submitted 100%, assuming that goes through the review and it sort of gets there, what's the process if you know?
There's basically two more opportunities that we have to make adjustments to the plans. The final PSNE submittal, and then again, DOT does review that. Typically, the level of comments that come back from that are very minor, but even that is another opportunity before we stamp the plans final, issue for bidding or for advertisement. Yep. So, between now and when all of the easements are actually secured, say late summer or fall, depending on when, if there's a special town meeting in the fall, between now and that period, there's opportunity to make some adjustments to the plan. Certainly if anything was a significant scope adjustment that would either drive up costs or significantly reduce costs, we'd want to discuss that with DOT, but that would be unusual for that significant of a change to happen at this stage, I think.
It would. So the reason I brought it up, and I apologize if I'm stealing anyone's thunder if they're mentioning this as well, and this has been brought up by a couple of committee members to me over the last few months, I guess, is we have a different way school is handled right now on Main Street. The way you haven't driven down Hubbardston Main Street probably randomly. So what's been going on is they basically coned off a portion of, they've thirded the road up essentially. And so you've got like one route going, let's just say, you're at Elm Street. One's going northbound, and then there's sort of two coming southbound. One that's in the middle that heads straight south, and the other is for like drop off. Did I say that right, everybody? Yeah. So anyway, and I'm not advocating that there's a change or whatnot, but this is new information for all of us here from a how it's set up, from a safety standpoint and all that. So You know, I'm assuming there's going to be feedback to the town and the school and all that sort of thing. And we're just sort of early days here gathering information, but that might, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just sort of reserving the right to talk about that later on sometime.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we'll keep that in mind, I think. And there's the parking lane that's proposed along there, and, you know, in theory, that parking lane could be extended and potentially utilized as a drop-off lane during those peak hours or something. But, you know, if the time comes to address that specifically, you know, just certainly reach out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Dan, have you heard if that's permanent, or is it just for the school year due to the higher volume of drop-off and pickups?
Yeah, I have not heard anything detailed about it. They put it together. It started with one officer, and it's got like 3 now, you know, because it's needs it. So, but as far as further discussion, there's been none that with the board anyway.
I mean, from a right-of-way impact standpoint, and that's, you know, that's kind of the critical. Those are the critical next steps at this point that could potentially delay the project in any way. But from a right-of-way standpoint, any adjustments that you would make to the design along there, I think those are all town-owned properties, so the right-of-way impacts are very controllable by the town, you know, at this point.
Okay. Okay. Anyone have any additional questions for John while we got him on the town center project? No. Okay. Well,
oh, Dan, sorry. No, I guess it wouldn't be a meeting without me mentioning, you know what I'm going to mention.
oh, yeah.
John, do you know if in the design, whether it's confirmed that they're going to put conduit underneath the sidewalk for future lighting as we go along? Yes,
we have proposed conduit and pull boxes under in a relatively limited area up from Elm Street. I think we discussed those limits with Dan at the it was the 25% design public hearing after that hearing.
Okay.
So they extend, you know, a few hundred feet up, I think, basically between Elm Street and the crosswalk near the post office. So for potential for future lighting in there on the westerly side of the roadway.
Yeah, and then right in front of Phil's house.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
No problem.
Okay. Anything else for John while we got him? Okay, great, Jonathan. So if do you have a few minutes to hang around? And I hate to ask you this on the cuff, but I'm gonna. Because there may be some additional projects in town that you may have a little info on. If you don't, you know, feel free. But if you do have any ability to speak on any of that, we are going to be bringing it up in 5 minutes from now. Okay.
I can stick around. I can't guarantee that I know a ton of detail about some things, but I'll give it a shot.
Sounds good. And then I wasted 5 minutes of your life, if so. So sorry. Okay. Well, thanks a lot again. All right, we're going to move along. So the next item is item 4. Which is sort of ongoing bridge and roads projects update is what we have on here. And, we've got a lot of stuff going on in town. And I asked our DPW director, Travis Brown, who's on now, if he could jump on to maybe give us what he knows of an update of some active projects in town. And if you wouldn't mind, in whatever order you want, Trav, you able to do that for us?
Sure can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. For ongoing projects on the Route 62 culverts, they're coming along very nicely. I know they've pulled out the 2 double culverts that were collapsing. There wasn't much left to them by far, but I know they're getting it ready to, pour the footings for the precasts for the culverts. As for Evergreen Bridge, I just talked with DOT this week, and I asked about the progress there because I hadn't seen any. They got all the bases down, ready, waiting on the precast, and from whenever time they had put in the order for the precast bridge is when they'll get it. So they're just waiting for the precast to be done. Gardner Road project is pretty much wrapping up. I've talked with the resident on that from DOT. It's a couple of things that we got to do with cleaning out some drainage and We found a drainage. Actually, they found a drainage and brought it to my attention. They're going to clean it up for me on the side of the road, just between Plumtree and Dogwood North. And that wasn't on the plans. That's all we have right now as the project's going on.
Okay, so so the both Evergreen Bridge, so that was we talked about a little bit on the select board, just to, because people do ask, when are they going to be done? That's sort of the most important thing. Off the top of your head, do you know when the expected completion dates are for those jobs?
I don't have a specific date on it. When I did ask them, and when I believe we were first asked about it, it was 1.5 years on that project. The Route 62 culverts would be done about this time next year, if not a little sooner. Depends on how things go.
Yep. Okay, that's consistent with what we've heard as well. So construction wise, it's been an excellent year to do culverts and bridges and stuff, because it hasn't rained until the other day for like months. So it has been troubling getting precast and other sort of commodity driven items, because I just deal with it on a daily basis due to COVID delays. So those can pop up, and it doesn't feel like there's been any sort of red flags that have come up that I've heard of, and it doesn't sound like for you either.
Yeah, no, it's just waiting and keeping in touch, and they've been great about that. So
okay,
it'd be nice once they're done.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. You asked me for a few different things, so I have 3 more line items. Paved road projects for this year, preventative maintenance, and roads for grants. All right, that's item 5 on our agenda. You just segued into it. You're up.
Which one you want, the grants or the others? Doesn't
Yes.
matter. Okay, so paved road projects for this year. We did Flag Road, a piece of Mount Jeff from Williamsville to Flag Road, and actually another piece of Mount Jeff just after the dirt section to Cross Road. We actually did that Cross Road intersection to where it met the development there. We did Hale Road extension, and we did that piece of Williamsville Road between Hale Road extension and Mount Jeff, all totaling up 2.28 miles of road at $431,742.17. We're doing some of the backfilling is what we have left on the berm areas. Preventative maintenance. We did a rejuvenating fog seal with sand mix on Hale Road, Heelville Road, first part of New Templeton Road from Route 68 to just past the first pond, and a few parts of Old Princeton, totaling 5.18 miles of road for $73,000.
So how do you feel? I mean, so I've seen a bunch of that, and we had some comments on that. We've had some discussion of the board or whatnot. People were a little confused on why there was sand on the road, right? But that obviously, fixed itself up. But how do you feel about how that went as far as what you were expecting and what you're seeing so far?
I was there through the whole process, and it came out just like the pictures I had shown you before we had done it. And you can definitely tell the difference going from, even if you turn on to Hale Road from Barry Road, because I didn't do the Y section. I just did it just after the house. You can tell it quiets right down. I took pictures. You can see the old pavement and where we started. The old pavement has all that raveling going on, and you can see the pavement that we did is all tight now. It's filled in all the ravel areas, and much more quiet, softer, smoother ride. And looking at 5 to 6 years, if not more, depending on traffic, to hold up. I mean, people, I got some calls because of the sand, but I mean, with a week or 2 down on the road, which it needs in order to bind, that's the reason why it's there, is to fill in all the voids, so we don't have water sitting on the roads. I mean, if you go look at them now, they're black.
Yeah, no, I'm Heelville. I go on there almost every day, and it looks like it worked.
Yeah, I have actually other directors and other companies that have come in to look at it, knowing that we put it down, and they actually liked it too. So, I mean, I understand that, you know, people in town haven't seen it before, and some people that are in the business know what it was, or just didn't know the name of it, but knew what the purpose of us doing it was for. But other than that, I've heard good things about it. So I'm happy with.
Travis, can I ask you a quick question? Sorry, we're divergent from the town center project, but while I get your attention here, corner of Flag Road and Hale Road extension, everybody's wondering about that's the bus stop there, and there are still, I think, 4 cones there at that corner. And I was just wondering, is that considered done, or I think people aren't sure where to park if you're for the bus, and it's not much of an issue this year, but going forward, you know, I mean, is that still going to be the bus stop, I guess, is the question.
It's fine to be the bus stop. I had put cones there so people weren't running over the edge of the pavement and breaking it. So I had to show them that the pavement, you know, the driving area is the pavement area, not to cut it out because it's quicker, you know what I mean? So we did put cones there. We really didn't want to put anything there. It is a property there, so it is what it is. But we didn't want to put anything there just because of plowing it, you know, so we could put snow somewhere. But really, that's why. It was just so people are used to so much cutting that corner so much.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bust up all the new pavement. You know, if I really wanted to, I could have put berm there, but that would have just been a mess.
Thanks.
All right, and hey, I just want to jump in real quick because I feel bad about keeping John, but I just want to bring this up. So so the real reason why I wanted to see if you could stick on for another second was regarding this will be new to the committee here, but we had a conference call the other day with a couple of TEC employees, as well as Ryan and Travis and I were on it, regarding some new proposals. So sort of the next projects beyond the town center, and those included High Street and Brigham Street. So what we've been trying to do, and so TEC with their assistance is just come up with some very early ideas on how to finish what we're doing, right? So just not to be happy that the town center project is on its way and going to get completed, but let's continue to connect all the dots, right? So those were some additional dots that we've talked about, whether it's complete streets or how we were going to connect the town center project or whatever else. So just recently, like at 3:32 today, from one of John's colleagues, and John was copied on this, from Kevin Dandrade. Did I say that right, John? And Mike Myers also, if you all remember, that was our first TEC contact. We got a couple of proposals for High Street and Brigham Street, which I'll send to you guys after this meeting, for exactly what we got when we started the town center project, which was schematic design pricing. So we started there on a very modest sort of budget. Ryan and I have already looked at what might be available in our existing budget to maybe authorize them, to go through the select board process to see if the select board is interested in expending the money to go through that schematic design, to get a picture of what we can do to make those areas better and safer. So that's going to be something that's coming too. So John, I don't know how involved you are with that, or will be with that, but or will be in the proposal that was sent. But I don't know if you have anything to add there.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm certainly aware of we put together the proposals, and the idea was, like Dan mentioned, basically a schematic kind of conceptual level design, similar to what we did in the initial stages of the Main Street project. And Brigham and High Street are, as you probably know, much more constrained, and the right of way is going to be much more constrained and challenging to implement complete streets improvements. So I think the scope and the pricing there was a little reflective of that when you guys reviewed that. But the intent is to end up with the same product, kind of recommendation for what type of complete streets improvements we could do along those two roadways, recognizing the constraints that we have, and basically end up with a final product deliverable of conceptual design that we would recommend to the town to pursue funding for in the future.
Right. So the idea was just to keep moving forward, right? So not a big expenditure of funds for this, and it's again, it has to be approved and all that, but it doesn't hurt to get pricing, right? And we've had, as you all know, we've had only unanimous support for everything that has been going on over the last 5 years relative to this. So that we could, just evaluate what those next steps are going to be and see whether or not, there's the energy to continue on with, making things better and safer.
And one thing just to note on that topic too is we're not limited to complete straight funds to get those projects done too. When I was at the regional planning committee meeting, they were encouraging people to also apply for tip money as small projects that they could kind of use. I don't call it extra budget, but that little bit of money they have between projects to do kind of complete streets type projects as tip projects as well.
Okay. So great. I think that does it for what we need you for, John. So I once again, thanks for coming, and we're going to continue on with our meeting.
All right. No problem. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. Hey, Trav, back to you. So you had another bullet point you wanted to talk about, that right?
Yep. I got roads for grants. We're looking to put together a tip project for Elm Street and Brigham Road to blend it with a Main Street project and add to the Safe Routes to School and multi-purpose travel. We're also still pushing for Lombard Road with the MassWorks grant. And we're also in the process with Mass DOT project number 609187 Williamsville Road Bridge and having that replaced in the year 2023.
And that's similar to 62 bridges, culverts. Would that be a similar program?
Yes, it's a part of like the tip bridge program. It's the same deal. This one would be an actual bridge. So they're looking to fix the main support under them are getting pretty bad, and they're actually looking to maybe take some of the curve out of the road going up the hill also. So it's going along pretty well. We're just making sure we had the detour part down. Thompson Road and Cruz Road, they were a little nervous with it because of the condition, but I think within a couple of years we'd be able to hot patch it where and we did some this year, but we'd be able to hot patch it where it was, it'll hold traffic fine.
Okay, great. So as far as the work done this year, I don't know how much of it you've heard, but we've heard a tremendous amount of pleasure from the Flag Road people who just can't believe they have a road. So, I hope you've been given that sort of feedback as well, because it came out great. I think all the prep work you did was great too. There was a lot of it to sort of get it to a point where it was ready to have, it become an actual road again. But, it was great to see.
Yeah, and I would just add to that too. We've had at least a few pretty heavy rainstorms. It seems like we haven't gotten much rain this year, but when we have gotten it, we've gotten a lot all at one time. And yeah, it's been beautiful, and it's held up through those rainstorms too. So yeah, a fantastic job. We're all very appreciative.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. The guys work hard with it, and I put it together, and they help me bring it out. So I mean, I have a great team, and we're moving forward. Hopefully next year we'll do the backside of Williamsville that really needs it, from Cruz Road all the way to Burnshirt, to the bridge. Yep. So yeah, that'll be a big one.
Okay. All right. Well, I think unless anyone has anything else for Travis.
I was just going to ask you, Travis, what your hope is for the Lombard Road grant.
We have done it for the past 2 years now, and what's happening is that they've given the money to like your cities because they can have your safe routes to school, and they can have all these extra bike lanes, because obviously Lombard Road's limited to the size and all. So, and they look for growth, and so we tried to show them that there was growth happening. We did talk with the grant people, and they stated that a few things that, one, they didn't know and that we need to explain in the grant, and was that, I forget what exactly how it was, but that there was an extra development there that they didn't know about. So more or less, you got to pretty much explain the whole street to them so they understand that it's impacting more people than just a few people, and it's not just a long road. So Ryan and I have, we've sat in on that meeting, and we're definitely working to it. We did some patchwork with some millings on it this year, and people were happy. I didn't get any calls for potholes this year because of it. So, I mean, it's not perfect because we weren't able to do all of it, but it definitely helped out for what we needed it for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else for Travis, if you all want to see him again, you can come to the select board meeting on Monday night because we're going to be going over the preliminary winter operations plan. Hopefully, any questions you may have, you can join us then. But we'll see you then, Travis. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, great. That stuff was all kind of crazy, super informative. And the next item we have is item 6, which is the capital planning request from TCC. I'll explain this in a second. Due 10/21, which is next Wednesday. So what this is, Alicia will know, and you may all recall from last year, but so the capital planning committee requires that all boards and committees for any expenditures that they have on their wish list, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, is put on the capital request on an annual basis. And that as we did it last year, Alicia, you did it, and the next one is due on the 21st. So what I'm going to do is, after this meeting, I wanted to sort of bring it up. I'll resend to everybody what we submitted last year. And then you'll have a few days to sort of get back to us. Alicia, can you take the sort of lead on that again? Do you mind?
Yep, no problem. I can do that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I know there's a few things that we can cross off of there because I know, for example, like the playground is being handled by the Parks and Open Space Committee. So there's a few things that we had requested that's now being done through another group. So.
And so the point of it is having on there is that there's a capital planning committee that if there's projects that we think are important or that we want to pursue, if they don't see them on there, whether it's next year or 4 years from now, they're not going to recommend it to, be funded, out of capital. So that's why we want to just, be as thorough as we can, knowing that it's all not going to happen, just give as many options out there as possible. So expect to see something coming across your email. Okay. All right. That was the update on that. The next is, so Katie is still here. Is that right?
He's just hiding.
Still here.
Yeah. Okay. So our next item is we have listed the lighting ceremony discussion / other events. So starting with the lighting ceremony discussion. And as you know, every year we've been doing last 4 or 5 years, the lighting of the tree and menorah, as well as a caroling in conjunction with the school. I have no idea how that's all going to work this year, but last year, right, probably not. But last year we ended up turning lights on early because Katie and friends lit up the town common fantastically. And so we just wanted to sort of talk about that again this year, because what is your plan, Katie?
The light fight is going to be the first 3 weekends of December. So they need to be lit before that.
Meaning the town common.
Yes.
Right, which, makes perfect sense to me. And Katie had called me the other day and we were going to discuss, she knew we were talking about it tonight to see if anyone had any sort of issues with that, because we had been taking the lead in sort of setting up the lighting ceremony. I didn't necessarily expect it. I don't have any. It's a great sort of thing that was fun to sort of drive around with the last couple of years with the light fight. But if anyone wants to discuss it or has any questions about sort of getting in front of whether we even do a lighting ceremony or not, with the lighting of the town common in the first place. Just sort of, that's what we have right now, is that discussion piece. And sort of while you're thinking about that, go ahead, Alicia.
I was just going to say, I mean, Katie, could we do the lighting ceremony as just a live stream on Hubbardston Celebration, maybe abbreviated, but then we could have it, you know, maybe play some Christmas or holiday music and have the lights go on, and that was more of a socially distanced thing.
We could do that, but it's outside, so I don't, like, I can see the thing in the senior center, that's not gonna work. But the whole outdoor part, like, I don't see why that can't happen. We're all outside. We're all gonna be bundled up, so I'm pretty sure everyone will have a mask on because it will be keeping your face warm. That's my thought anyway. But again, if we all stay in our family groups and then keep your groups 6 feet apart, I don't see, there's plenty of room in that common. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but again, this isn't my show. So I just want to make sure the lights get on, you know, before the weekends start, because it just looks bad if our common is dark and we have people driving around town seeing lights, you know?
And we have Lou's house outshining the common.
Yeah, well, you know.
Oh, don't challenge her, please.
Hey, you know, I will put if that was the other thing that we talked about with Dan. If we want more, I can do more. I just don't want to go off and do what I think should be done, because then people go, "What are you doing going off all by yourself?" I'm like, so I always wait for others' input on stuff like that, because I don't want it to be the Katie show. I want it to be the town of Hubbardston. You know what I mean? So if we want to do more in the center, we can. I just need a direction and an outlet. That's all I need.
Okay, so the way it currently stands, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it makes you feel any better, I've heard people say more. I've never heard anybody say, what they do that for? So.
True, but it can get to a point where it's like, you know, where it's too much or too gaudy, you know, like I wouldn't suggest doing inflatables. I would suggest, if we're going to do something, maybe like the lights that shine up on the side of the buildings, that maybe like snowflakes on the side of the church, you know, those like you know, they move around and stuff. And then the slideshow kind of deals. And then maybe in the center, we could do something like maybe a forest theme and have deer, or I don't know, we could do something more whimsical, you know, like the Grinch or something like that. But that would take more time, and I'd have to find somebody to custom make that stuff, because usually can't buy that stuff and have it come across looking well. It could be candy canes or something, you know, it could be themed, but once we get it, that's what the theme is year after year. You know, you can't just go changing that stuff every year. So,
although I may have a Grinch and sled that we may not be using this year. Just saying.
Just throwing it out.
So as far as dates, I'm looking at if it starts on the 4th and 5th, we're looking at Thanksgiving weekend, or
I suggest
the week of,
from the Thanksgiving weekend, because by then usually everybody's putting their stuff out anyway. Because I used to run seasonal department in lawn and garden at Walmart for years, and let me tell you, everybody, that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Black Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and the Christmas department was empty. That was it. It was all gone in 3 days. So that's when everyone's decorating their house and decorating their stuff. Unless it's people like me and Lou and Jen up on Twin Hill, that we start in like October.
Yeah, and you know, I know of a few houses in the area that will turn on their lights like the day after Thanksgiving. So,
all right. So we have a couple of things we got to look at. So just so I'm clear. So Katie, again, so the light fight is when again, the light fight dates are again what?
The first night is the 4th, December 4th. That's the first night.
So you'd want to turn the lights on in the common sometime before that?
Yes.
Okay. So that would likely be the weekend of Thanksgiving.
Correct.
correct? Okay, is everyone all right with that? I mean, I don't know that we're the final authority anyway, but you know, we can at least, you know, discuss it, but I don't have any problem with it. Anyone have any problem with that?
Nope.
Okay, so the next piece of this would be, I'm going to reach out, which I've done the last couple of years, to the school, to the Lions, and to, you know, copy in town administrator Ryan on that as well, to just find out what people think about this year's lighting, singing ceremony. So I'll just get, you know, if people don't want to be involved, if people do want to be involved, at least to understand, take the temperature of all that, and I'll just get back to everybody and let you know. It usually we'll do it a few weeks before Christmas, so it's probably you know, the second week of December or something like that is when it would happen, I guess. But again, let me just, if that's all right with everybody here, I would just reach out to them and find out what their thoughts are, and then I'll just let everybody know.
I mean, do we want to move the lighting ceremony earlier so that the rest of the lights aren't on without the Christmas tree being on?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe we did it last year, right? I mean, it was all good, right? It worked out fine last year. It rained, but there snowed or whatever it was a little bit, but people still showed up and had it. And it was kind of nice to have extra light out there, to be honest, to be able to see some stuff. So I think it worked out just fine. And the two kids who got chosen to turn the things on, it was the highlight of their day. So I don't know. I don't think we need to do that ceremony too early. Okay, anyone have anything else they want to talk about on this? And also just recall, I do have on the agenda lighting ceremony discussion or other events. So, you know, we've gotten involved in a few things over the years. Is there anything else anyone has any questions about or wants to get involved in or whatever else while we're talking about it?
I don't have kids at school now, so I don't know what's going on with, I mean, I guess I can check it online, but what's going on with the Halloween this year?
Good question. So I'll answer as much as I know. So Halloween's not canceled. I guess I'll start with that. There is no police hoedown. If you recall, the last few years they set a tent up, put a bunch of hay bales down, had the Back to Future DeLorean there. Had the Lions had the trailer there with cider and donuts and all that. So that's not happening. So that event there is not. But at this point, Halloween is still on. And I don't know. Honestly, I mean, some of it will be discussed on Monday at the Board of Selectmen again. The Board of Health has a lot to do with this as well, as how that's going to go, as far as whether there are any conditions, for lack of a better word, on how things will go. But that's the only info I've got. If anyone else has anything to add, please do.
I mean, there's no way they can be 6 feet apart. I mean, there are hundreds of kids there, and I don't know, just toss the candies or.
Yeah, I mean, they extended the hours to be 4:30 to 7:30. I think it was normally like 5 to 7 or whatever. They're still asking for candy donations at the police station. And I mean, some of the information, I don't know if it was the town or the police department had shared, the CDC recommendations are for people to consider wrapping up candy and putting it down along the sidewalk for the kids to grab instead of handing it out like physically to the kids. But I haven't seen anything from the Board of Health or anybody as far as thou shall do it this way.
Yeah, I haven't either. So that's all I got in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on sort of other events or other topics anyone wants to bring up? Our next item as well is other business, so we're on to others as well. Any old business or anything anyone wants to bring up here? No. Okay. Well, we have nothing to vote on at this point. I think this has been great seeing you all. It's been a little while. Our project is really close. You know, 5.4 million, which is crazy from where we started with this little 20,000 $100,000 schematic design 5 years ago. And so, as I said, I'll update y'all on a few of these items after the meeting the next day or so. And if anyone has any questions or whatever, they can just let me know, and we'll sort of go from there. So if there's nothing else, someone will need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh.
Okay, so it's seconded. As with all meetings virtually held, the voting is done individually. So we'll start there. So we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's a roll call vote. Dan, yes. Neer?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Alicia?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.